Hello, everyone. Luciano Oliveira, Oliveira Lawyers. Today is Sunday, September the 22nd. Now is 3:33 Rio de Janeiro time. We had some issues with our live stream to get started. I hope everything is looking good on your side. I see here we have a few friends. As usual, Dana. Good to see you, Dana. Good day. Where are you right now, Dana? I know you are in your process of starting your journey in Brazil. Let us know where you are right now, Dana. Okay, we have Ellie. I think it's Ellie. Ellie says hello. It has been a while, Ellie. Good to see you again. Let us know where you are in your Brazil journey as well. I know you've been taking steps to proceed with your journey towards Brazil. In the meantime, while you guys still warm up with comments and questions, I wanted to share a little bit about President Lula. President Lula went to the United Nations. Today there was the conference in which Brazil has been traditionally the first country to speak in pretty much every single General Assembly. Did you know that? Like Brazil has this very special place. Brazil is always the first one to speak whenever there is a General Assembly in the United Nations, and this has been the case for several decades. I'm not sure if it started like in the 50s or the 60s, but it has been like for over half a century. Brazil is going to have the first speech whenever the United Nations has a General Assembly. I'm just curious, like, are you guys following up on this type of subject? Have any of you watched President Lula's speech at the General Assembly at the United Nations? All right, Donna says, I am in Texas, Austin tomorrow. Yeah, Donna, I hope you are safe and, safe from the heat. Like I know there is a heat wave in Texas going on, so I hope you are safe, and cool. All right, Donna. Who else we have over here? All right, so in the meantime, we can discuss other subjects. We had another question here offline. It was about the purchase of real estate as a means to qualify for the permanent residency in Brazil. And we had a question, and the question went like this. Some attorneys or several lawyers, like there was the wording from the question, several attorneys, they recommended that you first apply for the residency, and once the application is in, only then you're going to buy the property. Can you explain why they would say such a thing? Because you usually say buy the property first and apply later. Well, I cannot exactly explain why lawyers would, provide such advisory. What I know from experience is that most lawyers, they are going to learn the immigration procedures on the fly. Okay, there is no manual, there is no classroom for us attorneys to learn about immigration. So the way we learn immigration is pretty much by actually providing the service. And it's not very common for attorneys out there to have, immigration cases combined with the purchase of real estate. Okay, most of the lawyers I know, they are going to be handling either the transaction, or they are going to be handling the immigration side of the real estate acquisition. In our firm, we handle both sides, and we have been doing that for several years, for a long time. So we kind of know in details the procedures related to the immigration applications. And we know, of course, for sure that you don't need to apply upfront. You can very safely buy the property first, and once you have the complete paperwork, then you're gonna file an application in full. Okay, there may be some attorneys out there that for some reason they think you should first file an application and then buy the property. But that's not necessary. Okay, that's not necessary at all. So that's the answer for those of you. If you have like a similar question, here is the answer. Like most or every immigration attorney in Brazil, they learn things as they handle the cases, and of course the more cases they handle, the more they know about specific type of immigration application. And I don't know, like there is no rank of the firms who are handling the most cases, but I am sure we are probably one of the firms with the largest number of immigration cases combined with the purchase of real estate. Okay, all right. Donna shares a little bit more. Ticket bought, car rented, Airbnb rented, Brazil the first. I love the heat. All right. There you go, Donna. Donna is a planner. I can see Donna is taking good care of her plans. Glad to be part of your journey, Donna. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for being here with us. Ali says, too complicated to find apartments to buy from abroad. So I decided to go with the digital nomad visa. Yes, Ali, that's a very good strategy. We usually, whenever we have, clients, new clients for the residency through real estate investment, we do share that ideally they would, visit the property more than once. Like shopping for a property, I think it's a fun part of the process, right? Like there are other parts that are not that fun, but shopping around is actually fun. And of course, you want to buy something that is going to be at your satisfaction. So I like the approach. Many of our clients, they do the same thing, right? Like we recommend, listen, get the digital nomad. Come to Brazil, take your time, don't rush yourself. Buying a property is a big commitment, and you should take your time to do so. Very good strategy, Ali. That's something we do recommend to our clients. The Philippine Cines, welcome Philippine. Good to see you. Philippine says, hello all. Let's be nice and say, welcome Philippine. Donna, how long before I can get CPF so I can purchase a car? Donna, listen, if you're using our service, the CPF application process is part of the application. Okay, so if you're using our service, you're not gonna need to go anywhere unless you have been to the Brazilian consulate already. But if you're not, then our team is gonna take care of your tax ID, and you're gonna have the CPF as part of the process. Okay, we actually use the CPF tax ID as the ID key for your appointment at the Polícia Federal for gathering your biometrics. But this is usually more at the end of the process. Okay, so let's say once you visit the Polícia Federal, on that day, usually you're going to get the RNM number. RNM number is like the number for your future resident card. You get the number on the day of the appointment if everything goes well. The card is going to be made available a couple of months later, right? And you're not going to be able to buy the car until you have the card. So you get the CPF tax ID by the time you go to the biometrics appointment, and the actual card is going to become available a month or a couple of months later on. So for the purpose of your planning, Donna, you could consider, like maybe 3 months down the road. Remember, you can very easily rent a car, okay, even before you get to the CPF, even before you get to the R&M card. So if you think that a car is a must, you could probably rent a car for a few months, okay? I travel often, throughout Brazil, and I do rent cars. Sometimes if I'm staying, like for over a month or a couple of months, I do rent the same way a car. And the prices are usually competitive. If you're renting for a month, you're going to get a nice discount. So I don't think you should rush, Donna, to buy a car. Take your time, and you're going to get there. Another perspective, like for cities such as São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, like really big cities, as you probably know, many people nowadays, they are choosing not to have a car, right? Unless you want to, do, trips like to the countryside. You don't want to keep renting cars all the time. So you may be buying a car, for using every now and then. But in my experience, it is much more convenient for you to just do, Uber. You can use Uber, pretty much in every single a major city in Brazil. And particularly like in São Paulo, if you're driving your own car, it's a pain in the neck to find parking spots. The traffic is super hectic for foreign citizens. I know a bunch of people from the United States who would tell me, "Listen, I cannot drive in Brazil." People just drive like crazy. Everybody, is like almost touching each other at the traffic. People are gonna be cutting each other often. Okay, it's a madhouse. It's a madhouse. Traffic in Brazil, it's a madhouse. Of course, if we're talking about the countryside, or if we're talking about maybe the northeast of Brazil, like a smaller town, traffic, of course, is not gonna be as bad as it is in major cities. But what I want to share with you is, if you're planning to live in a big city, you would be absolutely fine with like Uber. You don't need to buy a car. Buying a car in a city such as São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, sometimes it's not the best idea. And I see Donna's answer here. I don't like big cities or public transportation, more rural, so rental for about 2 or 4 months. Yes. If you're going rural, Donna, yes, by all means, buying a car, it may be a good fit because, like aside of the large cities, you don't always find Uber available, okay? So I stay, like, as I share with you guys, I stay in Ceará, like the north of the northeast, the state of Ceará. I stay 1 hour south of Fortaleza. In this town is called Beberibe. Many people, they know Beberibe by its main beach's name, which is Morro Branco, or I don't know, White Sands, or White Hills. And over there, even, to get a taxi or a cab, it's already a pain in the neck. Like there is virtually no Ubers or, options of that kind for that matter. So, like if you're going to live in a city like this, buying a car makes total sense. So there you go. Some nuances on how to drive and having a car or not, depending on where you're gonna settle in Brazil. Ellie is sharing. I want to apply from Rio de Janeiro in late October, early November. I see the list of documents necessary, and I want to prepare everything before leaving the Czech Republic. Ellie has some questions. All right, Ellie, let's see what your questions are. We have Sadiq. Welcome, Sadiq. Sadiq says, hello, Luciano. I would like to know what are your legal fees to go through for the application process for Viper residency, like an estimated fee. So Dick, our fee, like for the real estate residency route, which is called as Viper by many people, is traditionally 5% of the property being purchased. Like we assist not only with the entire real estate transaction, but we also assist with the immigration process as well. Okay, usually a long journey together, almost like marriage, I like to say. We would stay together for roughly like 6 months or 7 months. That's usually the average project time here at the firm. And this would involve literally a couple of hundred activities that we would go through together. And that's the work we do. That's something that we've been providing for several years. People are usually pretty happy with the service. Now, this is for a traditional property. If you have a property for a much higher amount, like recently we got our largest deal in the city of Rio de Janeiro. It is, and this transaction is in the pipeline as we speak. Like we are handling, we are in the negotiation stage. Like on behalf of the buyer, is for a 16 million reais deal, right? So of course, for this case, we are basically charging like half our traditional professional fee. Okay, so Dick, but that's like a 5% is gonna be what we charge for most cases. All right, I hope that helps. All right, Ellie has questions, follow-up questions to the digital nomad visa, I believe. All right, so he's saying sworn translation should be done in Brazil, but I will have a few docs in Czech Republic. Is it possible to find sworn translator from Czech to Portuguese? So Ellie, a couple of nuances, right? Like, I mean, first one, you must have your birth certificate issued in the Czech Republic, and you should have an apostille on your birth certificate. Okay, that's the first step. All right, so I actually see there is a prior question from Ali, and which documents require apostille? Yeah, so birth certificate it does, but what about criminal record and bank statement and other documents? All right, so Ali, like whenever we are filing applications on behalf of our clients, the only apostille we're gonna get is gonna be on the birth certificate. Okay, like for the criminal record, we don't require an apostille, meaning that criminal records from abroad, when applying through our firm, right? There is always a chance that the immigration officer is gonna interpret a self-applicant, or is gonna see a self-applicant in a way different from someone who's being represented by a law firm. So here at the firm, like pretty much every single digital nomad visa is going to be applied without an apostille on the criminal record. Okay, now there are many people out there who are going to get an apostille on their criminal record anyhow, and for the bank statement there is no need for an apostille. Okay, the only visa we see here at the firm being required an apostille on the bank statement and the bank paperwork for the matter, is going to be for the retirement visa, okay, not for the digital nomad. So there you go. For the digital nomad, you're going to need an apostille pretty much just for the birth certificate. In terms of sworn translation, we're going to have a sworn translation done only for the birth certificate, and everything else we're going to be adding just a regular translation to the paperwork. Okay, so every a single piece of document that you're going to be presenting to the immigration, it must have a translation into Portuguese. Okay, and you're asking, is it possible to find strong translators from Czech to Portuguese? Not easy, not easy. Okay, we have another case here at the firm. Our client, the gentleman, he is from Greece, and believe it or not, there is just a single Greek sworn translator, and I think it is a lady, if I'm not mistaken, a lady translator. And our team could not get in touch with her despite dozens of phone calls and emails. So what our team is doing is basically requesting for the state of Rio de Janeiro to authorize a I think he is a professor of Greek language at one of the Rio de Janeiro universities to add to perform as an ad hoc sworn translator, meaning this professor, he never went through the public examination to perform as a sworn translator, but he would perform as one because there is no other option. Okay, so that's what we are doing. Now, maybe you are lucky, maybe you do find a sworn translator, for Czech to Portuguese, and then you don't need to worry about, chasing people around to perform as a sworn translator. Okay, the Cold War channel. Welcome back at the Cold War. Very good to see you. Uber is very affordable in Brazil. A 90-minute ride that includes tolls is gonna be $30 US. Exactly. Yes, that's a great point. The Cold War. That's exactly the case. So just like I was saying, particularly for big cities, using Uber, and like in Brazil we have several copycats. Okay, just like Uber, they look like Uber, they perform like Uber, but they're actually cheaper. Okay. So on top of Uber, you also have other options just for the big cities. Smaller cities, unfortunately, sometimes they don't have any option at all. But for the big cities, Uber is substantially better than driving. Okay, just to give an example, if you are in São Paulo, if you need to, get a flight, from the Guarulhos Airport. Guarulhos Airport is the international airport in São Paulo. If you need, to catch a flight and you're gonna drive during, either peak hours or, common, business days, this driving could easily take an hour and a half. Okay, an hour and a half in traffic, again, with people driving in a way that is very different than what you see in the United States. I guarantee it's not fun at all. Okay, so on top of everything else, on top of the convenience, like Cold War said, there is even the cost, which is super affordable. When I'm taking Ubers, to the airport to take flights, I'm usually gonna be spending, no more than 15 or 20 US. All right, so a pretty decent deal. Okay, Dana is confirming no consulate, only your office. Really appreciate, Dana. Really appreciate. And yes, our office is gonna take care of your CPF, tax ID. You don't need to go anywhere. That's gonna be handled for you by our firm. All right, Donna is also saying going totally south to start, see how it feels. Yeah. So particularly in the south of the country, whenever people say south, they're thinking about Santa Catarina state or Rio Grande do Sul state, more rarely like Paraná state. They have amazing, small towns in the countryside. They are usually much safer than, the larger counterparties. And, they offer a better, standard of living and at a much more interesting cost. So there you go, Donna. I hope you enjoy. Okay, heads up. whenever we are recommending our clients in terms of location, we never tell our clients to go to a specific location because this type of decision is very personal, of course. So what we do is to recommend for people to avoid long-term commitments, okay? Avoid long-term commitments instead of renting, like a house for a year. Do something like Airbnb or Booking. Booking.com today is bigger in Brazil than Airbnb. I like both. I use both Airbnb and Booking.com. But it looks like Booking.com is winning the race in Brazil, and therefore you're gonna see like a large variety and better prices when you use Booking.com in Brazil. So the tip here, if you want to try out, the location for a month or for a couple of months before, really settling with a place, because, like if you're getting your residency in Brazil, as all of you know, like Brazil has continental dimensions. It is almost like you're not actually picking a country. You are more like picking a continent. And the state you're going to pick is going to be eventually the country. And then, of course, within that country / state, you're going to pick a city. So, give yourself time. Give yourself the opportunity of knowing different places. So you're going to find out the place you like the most. Just to give an example, like I've been traveling throughout the South. Like, we have a number, a large number of clients naturally, for Florianopolis, a major destination for foreign citizens. I've been to, Rio Grande do Sul, Porto Alegre, all the coasts, you name it, right? Like, I've been through Paraná. My mother's family, part of them, they have, settled in Paraná. And, I particularly I love São Paulo, right? Like, I was born in São Paulo, but I don't like the South too much. I don't know. Like, I go for business. Sometimes I'm going to attend like an appointment or a closing in the South, but I never spend time in the South more than I have to. I don't know. My thing is actually the northeast of Brazil. And I also love Rio de Janeiro, right? Like I love São Paulo, I love Rio de Janeiro. But whenever I have a free time and I say, listen, I want to just stay in a single location, I'm usually going to stay in Ceará. But that's just something personal. I know a lot of people who don't like the Northeast. They say, you know what, the Northeast is underdeveloped. I want to see it's not as safe as it is in the South, and I don't like the Northeast, right? And that's fine. That's there is nothing wrong with it. It's always just a matter of personal opinion, okay? But that's my tip for our clients. Try out different locations and ideally substantially different locations, because again, you are getting a continent as a country. So make sure to take advantage to make the most out of this continent. Ronnie Dio, I thought people drove like crazy in Fortaleza. I felt more relaxed on the bus, but I would like an RV for road trips. Okay, Ronnie, thank you for chiming in. Good to see you over here, Ronnie. And Ronnie is stating what I have heard so many times. Right? I thought people drove like crazy in Fortaleza, right? And Ronnie, I guarantee, I'm not sure if you've been in Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo, but traffic in Fortaleza during peak hours, of course, is just like in any other capital in Brazil. But I think traffic in Fortaleza is substantially better than what you would see in São Paulo. And I agree. Like I don't like driving like in the big cities at all. Now, whenever I go, whenever I am in Sierra, I'm gonna rent a car because I usually spend not much time in Fortaleza. When I am in Fortaleza, I usually go to Mucuripe to eat fish, freshly caught. I told you guys about the market, the fish market in Mucuripe, Fortaleza. You buy fish, you have it cooked on the spot, and you can, eat your fish, drink some beer by the beach. It's an amazing experience. I never get tired of eating fish in Mucuripe. So I usually go there. I also have, of course, like attended business in Fortaleza, at the closings, at the cartórios. But I always drive to Morro Branco, right? And so I want to drive because when I am in Morro Branco, the location in which I stay is kind of remote. Not the remote, it's like actually, like 15 minutes from Beberibe downtown. But again, usually if you're gonna, there are no cabs driving by, there's no Uber. So, if I just want to go to the supermarket and buy something, I need a car. If I want to go to a different beach, I need a car. So it does make it convenient to rent a car. But yes, Ronnie, even in Fortaleza, I agree. Brazilians drive like crazy. It's just something cultural, and it's something, to see in person, and then you're going to understand what we are talking about. Right, Ronnie? All right, we have Leon. Leon is saying, I'm ready to start the process for the retirement visa. Can I just go to the office in Rio de Janeiro, or do I need an appointment? I already had the consult. Leon, the onboarding, we don't do the onboarding at the office. So if you had the appointment, first thing, thank you for, getting the appointment with us. That's always good because then you know how we work. We can, give you an idea about the process, and it does help with the expectations. The only thing you need to do is to get the onboarding done with Justin. Justin, she's the one who handled the onboarding, right? So if you go to Rio de Janeiro to the office, nobody handles the onboarding over there, right? You can pay, you can sign like the service agreement. You need to handle that with Justin, and that's done remotely over email, right? Like you get the service agreement, you get the invoice, you take care of everything, and then once everything is taken care, our Rio de Janeiro team, and that's our main immigration office, is the Rio de Janeiro office. They are going to set up a board using Monday.com. Not sure if you know about this tool. It's a very easy tool to use. So we set up a board for you, and then you can upload the documents up there. Now, you're talking about retirement, right? Now, let's say if you're not really super familiar with those tools online, if you have a bunch of physical documents, you could, in theory, just take those documents to our Rio de Janeiro office, again, after the onboarding, because then they know who you are, they have your board set up, and then they can basically, at the office, they could scan your documents, right? And while you're having some Brazilian cafezinho, right, some Brazilian coffee, they would scan the documents and upload and organize in your board, right? So you are more than welcome to come to our office. Just know that you're not going to have a consultation, and you're not going to have the onboarding done at the Rio de Janeiro office. So you're going to pretty much see our folks and maybe have the Brazilian cafezinho, but there is nothing to be done in terms of taking you on board. Okay, I hope that makes sense, Leon. Something else, there are many documents that you should be bringing or be getting in your country of origin. So let's assume if you are from the United States, that means there is a bunch of documents you should have with you when you come to Brazil. And most of our clients, and that's why we do the onboarding, right? The onboarding is not done in Rio de Janeiro. The onboarding should be done prior to you leaving your country of residency, right? Because if you hire us after getting to Brazil, we're going to tell you, listen, all of those documents you need to bring from the United States. And even though, yes, we can help you get them remotely, it's going to be much more quicker if you are still in the United States. All right, so I hope that makes sense. But again, there is no restriction for any of you. All right, it's not just Lian. Any of you who want to drop by our office to have some Brazilian coffee, you don't need to give us a heads up. All right, there is no need for you to tell, listen, I'm going to go there. Are you guys going to go there? You just go during business hours. Our team is going to be there. They're going to, share a Brazilian coffee with you. Now, they're not going to handle onboarding, and they are not going to do a consultation, right? Like some folks, go to our office unannounced, and they try to get free advisory. We don't do like advisory on the spot. Again, I ask my team to always be very considerate and receive foreign citizens to the best of their availability. But we follow a process to onboard people, and the process starts with the onboarding remotely, and then you have access to our people at the offices. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Marisa Navas, a bunch of clapping hands. Thank you very much, Marisa. Marisa is family, is also assisting us in Portugal. Marisa is actually in charge of our new office in Portugal, in Lisbon. We are still setting up, right? It's just like an empty space as we speak, but Marisa is doing a great job by supporting us. Marisa also helped us with the recording of several videos that we are, as we speak, we are editing for immigration in Portugal. Thank you so much for the support, Marisa and Ricardo, right? Marisa and Ricardo, they are doing such a great job. The 552 says, what happens if the Greek birth certificate was issued in English? Would I still need a Greek sworn translation? Then, since it's from the country of Greece, would they accept the English version? The 552, there is no issue. Like if you have a document issued in English, right? The Brazilian immigration, they are not going to want you to traduce, to translate from Greek to Portuguese, okay? They would... All right, Greek sworn translation, since it was issued in English. Yeah, so this question is interesting because our office, like one of the things that we're considering, it was, to actually first translate from Greek to English in Greece. And then in Brazil, we would do like a sworn translation from English to Portuguese, right? But your question is different. Your question is saying, the Greek birth certificate was issued in English. That would be great. Okay, so if there is such an option, the 552, I'm not sure if it is just like a hypothesis or if as a fact that people can get a birth certificate issued in English in Greece, but that would be very helpful for our customers. And I can tell you, right from the bat, there is no problem if this document was issued by the Greek government in English. That's absolutely fine. You're going to get an apostille in Greece, and then the translator is going to translate the English version into Portuguese, right? Like one thing, it could happen, I'm just thinking aloud, I'm not sure if the apostille would be in English as well. Because if the birth certificate issued in Greece is in English, but the apostille document is in Greek, guess what? Like the sworn translator in Brazil, this person would be able to translate the English content, but not the content from the apostille. And the immigration, they always make sure to ask for a sworn translation, not only for the birth certificate itself, but also for the apostille that was issued and posted to the document, all right? But assuming that both documents were issued in English, you would be absolutely fine with a sworn translation in Brazil from English to Portuguese. All right, the 552. I know that as a fact because we do have this type of a situation for other languages like Japanese and Chinese. All right, and sometimes they're gonna issue the document entirely in English. Okay, and that's gonna help a lot. Because then, usually if you're gonna hire a translator to do the translation, they are never gonna match correctly and exactly your choices of names like in Western alphabet, right? So very common for languages in which you have a different alphabet. Also common like for the United Arab Emirates, in Dubai, that's where you have all the embassies. Usually they are going to issue documents like the public bodies in the UAE, they are going to issue documents in English, right? Like if they issue in Arabic, it makes it a nightmare for their nationals. Because translations into like English or Portuguese, they usually don't match with what you're trying to match. So if you already issue the documents in English, you make sure that your national is not going to be facing a really hard time in terms of correct translations, right? Very interesting question. All right, Donna is speaking Rio Grande do Sul. Donna, that's very brave of you. Okay, Rio Grande do Sul is an amazing state, really well-developed state. Capital is Porto Alegre. But let me tell you, particularly in the valley where they produce wine, okay, think about Bento Gonçalves, right? Like I'm just going to write down here the city, Bento Gonçalves, major producers of wine in the city. So I remember like in the 90s, I went to Bento Gonçalves to visit a friend. And, and it was like, in the winter. And in addition to being in the winter, there was a really, cold spell going on. And I went over there to stay for a week, and I couldn't stay more than 3 days, Donna, because it was crazily freezing. And, at least in the 90s, and I believe it is still the case, Donna, at least for common properties that Brazilians would buy, they don't have heating, okay? They don't have heating. So, that cold is going to come through the walls, it's going to come through the windows. And it does not matter if you have, like a portable heater. It does not matter if you have like 2 or 3 blankets on top of you. It's tough. It's tough. Okay, so I know you're coming from. I know you're coming from Texas, right? So it sounds like an interesting matching, maybe for a change. But make sure whenever you are, like researching places for you to stay, if you pick like a more modern building with, like heating. From inception, meaning, during the construction stage, they actually built in heating systems, is going to make your life, I guarantee, Donna, 1,000 times better. The cold in the winter in Rio Grande do Sul is not for everyone. All right. So, just take care of the heating piece. And then I'm sure you're going to have a blast in Rio Grande do Sul. All right, Donna, I hope that tip is helpful. Okay, we have a Creology. Creology, welcome Creology to the gang. Let me ask for any of you who haven't liked our chat, who haven't liked our live stream, please do so. The likes, they do help with our content to be found by other people just like you. And of course, it does help with our business. So if you are enjoying this content, I would really appreciate if you could take a few seconds and like our live stream. Thank you very much. So going back to Creology, hi, I will be in Rio in December. And I would like to start the retirement visa process while I am there for 6 weeks. And how much should I budget for the process, your fees and government fees? What documents should I get done here in the US before going to Brazil? Creology, our visas, they are usually around $1,000. Government fees, they are usually not substantial, so maybe you're going to spend an additional couple of $100. And the main documents, it's impossible for us in a live stream to tell you every single document you should be working on. But the main one from the United States, Creology, is going to be the birth certificate, okay? So the birth certificate, it should be like a recent version. So if your birth certificate is old, guess what? You're gonna be issuing a new one. And then for that purpose, I'm gonna share a website here in the chat window, Vital Check. Okay, Vital Check is the #1 provider of birth certificates in the United States. They actually work as an intermediary to get you the birth certificate. The birth certificate should be a long form one to show your parents' names on it. The whole purpose of asking for your birth certificate is for the Brazilian immigration to know your parents' names. So if you order a new birth certificate and if it is like a short version without your parents' names on it, it's not going to be of any good. So if you don't have a recent birth certificate, that's the #1 document for you to worry about. Once you have this document, then you're going to need to get an apostille on the birth certificate. And that's going to be the #1 document, Creology, that's going to preclude you from applying and being approved in a short time window, all right? So make sure you take care of this one. The other ones you can see, I'm going to share over here. Our page, Digital Nomad Visa. Okay, you're going to see here a list. If you access our page about the Digital Nomad Visa, you're going to see pretty much all the standard documents. Remember, there are always nuances about the documents that are reviewed. Like once you get a sample, our team would review the documents, make sure they are compliant, and if they are not, they would recommend you on what needs to be fixed, and that helps a lot. Many applicants, they make assumptions during the document collection stage, and not surprisingly, not every document is compliant. That happens all the time, all right, Creology? So I do recommend you to always hire our service before you start the document collection stage. Some people, they assume that they should gather the documents first and then hire us later. And I always try to explain, listen, you're going to pay the same amount, so you much better using our service to gather the documents, right? To assist you understand what you're going to be gathering, review the documents as they become available, and make sure that once you are coming to Brazil, you are on the right track for approval. All right, Creology, I hope that helps. All right, the 552 is explained. It was just a hypothesis, very interesting one, and it does happen, like I told you, the 552 with some countries like Japan and China. And thank you for bringing such interesting questions to the gang, the 552. Donna, drink more wine. Okay, there you go. I love it. You're going to have a blast, Donna. Drink more wine, pretty good wine in Rio Grande do Sul, a major region for wines in Brazil. Donna is going to be in an amazing location, and she's going to have wine to help like offset the heavy winters that are coming in the area. All right, the 552. So does that mean that when hiring your firm for the digital nomad, all the documents just need to be scanned? So when traveling to Brazil, I will need to bring a hard copy of the documents. The 552, that's another interesting question, and the answer is no. You also need the hard copies. The way it works is like this. Our firm is capable of getting you approved with only scanned documents, right? So for many of our clients, we're gonna get them approved without ever touching a single document in person, okay? However, after the approval, when you attend an appointment for the biometrics, then yes, they are going to want to see some of the documents in person. So, like the birth certificate, and you can tell, just by the recurrency of this topic, how attached to the birth certificate Brazilians and the Brazilian government most of all are, right? Like, the Brazilian government, if they don't see your birth certificate, guess what? They are not going to give you the residency, okay? So even though we can file your application and get you approved with just scanned documents, when you attended this appointment for the biometrics and get actually your resident card number, you don't get the number on the spot, you get the number. But they are going to want to see your birth certificate, like the one you got from the government, right? It cannot be a printout. It cannot be a scanned version. It got to be the authentic one. And remember, not only the authentic one, but it must have an apostille on top of it. And then the Brazilian Federal Police, they are going to take your birth certificate in their hands. They are going to be, in bliss when they see your birth certificate. I'm just joking, but it's so, weird, right? Like for foreign citizens, this attachment that the Brazilian authority has with their birth certificate. I know that in the United States, nobody asks for your birth certificate. You buy a house, you apply for retirement. I don't know, you win the lottery. Nobody is ever concerned with your birth certificate. But guess what? Brazil, a different country, they are going to be attached to your birth certificate, and you're not going to get the residency unless they see your authentic birth certificate with an apostille. So there you go. That's the main one. Just in case, whenever we are scheduling this appointment for our clients to go to the Brazilian Federal Police for the biometrics, for this kind of final review, we do assemble a document package. We give you like the whole checklist. We attach all the files to this email, and then you know exactly what you're going to need to take with you. But the birth certificate is the main one. Like, again, if you don't have it, you're not going to get it. And a big problem I have with that is that some people, like when they apply in the United States by themselves, and that's why, I usually say, self-application is always a bad idea. If you apply in the United States, like the consulate, they don't tell you. They just, sometimes they just take your birth certificate as is. They don't tell you about the apostille. They don't tell you about the physical version. They may give you the digital nomad visa over there, but when you get to Brazil, you don't have the documents that you should be presenting to the federal police. Because remember, the consulate is one thing, the Brazilian Federal Police is another thing. They are both under the immigration framework, but unfortunately, they don't communicate as you would expect. And therefore, when you show up for the interview at the Federal Police, it's super common for people to be denied like the residency, right? So they have the visa, they got the visa through the consulate, but they are denied the residency, okay? Pretty big deal. We see happening all the time, okay? And that's why, people should avoid self-applications, but it is what it is. Another thing that happens all the time, and we always need to explain, like people, they try, they are unable to, get it done, and they contact us and say, listen, I did almost everything. I did 90%, but there is a 10% missing. Like, can you do it in a consultation, or can you do it, I don't know, for 1/3 of your regular fee? And we say, no, When you hire us, you're hiring us to get this done right and to be filed correctly and to get you approved. Now, you try to do it by yourself, you are unable to succeed, and now you want to get us involved in this bad decision. It was a bad decision from inception. And then people are wanna, to have this thing fixed. Sometimes it's not fixable. And if we get involved, guess what? On top of being denied, the person is gonna have a scapegoat for their bad decisions, right? So we always say we don't assist with self-applicants. And if you try to self-apply and if you have like a problem, we would need to reapply from the beginning, because then we would do things correctly from the inception. All right, so that's just like I'm just venting, probably some situations we see here at the firm, but I'm glad that like most clients, they have common sense and they understand that. Like you either self-apply and you go to the end to see if you make it or not, and if you don't make it, you can always come back to us. And as long as the dismissal or the denial of your visa was done without prejudice, then yes, we can basically just reapply. If they identify that you're not meeting the requirements, though, they can deny your application with prejudice, meaning that the next agent or the next application would be able to see something from the prior application that was something serious, such as you coming to Brazil to work for a company, or you coming to Brazil to work under an order from a company abroad, and you're still trying to pursue the digital nomad visa. They are not compatible, right? So if the first application was denied because of that, the second one most probably would be denied as well, because then they're going to say, you know what, like he was denied the first time, now he's just like creating a story about another employer. But I understand that they're basically just trying to get this done in the same manner, and therefore we're going to deny again. Okay, that's another perspective to self-application. All right, I see we still have many interesting participation. We're gonna have another live stream next week on the 29th. It's gonna be on Sunday, the same time. So I'm gonna ask you to please save your questions. You're gonna be pretty welcome to come back here and share your questions, share your participations. I really like when people come back, because then we can see a kind of evolution in our communication and the types of cases that other people can see here in our live stream. So please don't forget to come here. I'm not sure if we're gonna have a live stream on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm gonna be moving probably, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be going from Rio de Janeiro to Fortaleza on Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, so because of that, I'm not sure if we're gonna have a live stream on Wednesday the 25th, but I'm sure we're gonna have a live stream on the 29th. And actually there is an entry already for our live stream next Sunday. So just come to our website, actually to our channel, to our YouTube channel, click on Notify Me, because when you click on Notify Me, YouTube is gonna make sure that you're gonna get a reminder to join our live stream. And I hope to see you on next Wednesday, and you guys have a blessed rest of your Sunday. You take care.